Hello, I am Axel. In this file, I will be giving you a trigger based off of the phases of the moon. How this trigger will work is depending on what phase someone has said to you. You will have that amount of consciousness or alertness. So if that sounds good to you, then make sure you're in a nice, safe place where you can let go entirely. So, I would just like you to listen to my voice and listen to the words I'm saying. I would like you to imagine a nice night sky, dark and beautiful, with stars and no clouds so you can see the sky. Right now, there's a full moon, full thoughts, full alertness. Just focusing on how pretty it is, the constellations, the stars, the different colors in the sky. Even though it's very dark, you can see slight purples and blues lighting up the sky very nicely. And I'd like you to imagine the moon. Breathe in and breathe out. Slowly and deeply, just listening to my voice, listening to my voice describing the scene of the night sky, stars and a full moon. Because right now you're fully alert, listening to my voice, listening to the words I'm saying. And if you didn't want to listen to the words I was saying, then you could easily just wake up and click off. But for right now, you can go ahead and sink down, just relaxing and drifting, feeling nice, thinking about the moon, imagining yourself looking at a full moon, and you can see it right now. And assuming you know what the phases of the moon are, you can imagine you're slowly drifting down. And to help you drift down a little bit more, I'm going to count you from 5 to 1. And you can imagine at 5, it's the full moon. The full moon representing the amount of consciousness and alertness you have right now. And whenever I reach 1, you can symbolize the new moon. Nice and blank. Just drifting, feeling nice. And something interesting will happen when I count you back up. But for right now, 5. You're at the full moon right now. Fully awake and alert. Slowly drifting down into 4. Just drifting and feeling nice right now. 3. Right now, you can imagine your mind is in the 3rd quarter, halfway conscious, halfway dropped, just sinking and drifting and sinking down, 2, the waning crescent now, just drifting down, all of your thoughts just barely there, just relaxing and floating, thinking about that nice clear night sky, full of stars, pretty lights, comfortably dark, and just relaxing. And then 1 and drop. You can imagine that right now your mind is in the new moon phase, completely shut off right now, just drifting and floating, not having to worry about anything. All you have to worry about right now is feeling nice and sinking. And if someone you trust were to use any sort of the phase of the moon, let's wake you up actually. Let's allow you to come up from 1 to 5. 1, you're still at the new moon. You're just drifting and sinking. But whenever I get to 2, now you're a waxing crescent. Your thoughts are slowly coming back to you, just as the moon is going back to being lit. 3, now you're at the first quarter. It's halfway back, halfway up. 4, you're at the waxing gibbous right now. Almost alert and awake again. At 5, wake up and you can imagine your mind at the full moon again. And let's say somebody wanted to bring you back down into trance. They could just tell you one of the phases of the moon. And I mean, this would only work if they knew about your trigger. If they knew that the phases of the moon can bring you back down or up. So, if someone were to say one of the phases of the moon with a snap of their fingers, you can go back down or up, wherever it is. So, let's say 3rd quarter, you're just halfway there, halfway up and halfway sinking deeper, waning, new moon, drop, drop, drop. You can imagine the new moon being connected with dropping, and the closer you get to the new moon, the closer you are to just dropping. Because the phases of the moon is pretty. It's nice to think about, nice to drop and sink and drift. Because the way the phases work is it starts at the new moon and it waxes, growing to the full moon. The full moon is how you always are. Normal alertness, awake. But then, whenever you go into trance or go into sleeping, it wanes. It sinks, slowly disappearing, slowly waning. You can just relax and drift. And something I like about the moon is even though you can't see it or it seems like it's not there, it will always be there. And it will always be there to be able to come back up. Just like your mind, if you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, it would be so easy to be back to the full moon. It would be so easy for you to be wide awake again whenever you would like. Because you don't have to worry about anything right now. You can just sink and drift down, down, down. At the new moon right now, all the way empty, all the way down. Just dropped and nice, feeling drifty and nice. Just relaxing and sinking. Not having to think right now. Then you can enjoy this nice feeling. You can enjoy this nice feeling. And how about we test out the phases of the moon? The crescent, or the least awake out of the ones where you are somewhat awake. So let's try that right now. At the waxing crescent, you're pretty floaty and drifty right now, but seems like you're somewhat awake. And then let's go ahead and go to the first quarter. You're halfway there, because the quarters are more so of a half, but you're there right now. Halfway drifting, halfway up. And then now we're at the waxing gibbous, still coming up still. And gibbuses are the brightest of the ones with some sort of dark on them. And it's easy to come all the way up to a full moon and being all the way up, awake, and alert. It's so easy to stay up, but it's also so easy to go back down into a waning gibbous. But how about we just skip to the new moon, just dropped, sinking, floating, just drifting in this nice feeling, this nice floaty feeling. You know that if someone you trust entirely were to say one of these phases and snap, if they were aware of your trigger, and you know that that's what they meant by snapping their fingers with saying the phase of the moon, you can just allow yourself to be whatever phase they said. Because now you know what phase is which. You know that you can just sink and drift, or come all the way up to a full moon whenever they like. Because you're going to keep yourself safe if you were to drop into a new moon. Just dropping, sinking, drifting. New moon right now. Just sinking and drifting. Your thoughts are still there. Everything's still there. But you can't see it right now. So you can just ignore it. You can just sink and drift. Feeling nice and floaty. Nice and relaxed. Just still imagining the beautiful sky, full of stars and constellations, the subtle but different colors of the night sky, just beautifully mixing into each other, just sinking and drifting, being all nice and floaty. And even though right now in that nice, beautiful night sky, you can't see the moon, just like how you can't find your thoughts, because you're just so floaty and drifty, feeling nice and relaxed. You can just sink and drift. And of course, if you were to be left alone in this feeling of being drifty or not, the moon always comes back to a full moon all by itself. It always comes back up to a full moon, up and awake, up and aware. It always comes back to this state of being full, being all bright, being seen, visible, making the night sky even more beautiful, filling it with light. Even though it's subtle, it's still beautiful to look at. All of the stars, the subtle colors, it's all so beautiful, so nice to look at and think about. Now, one more time before I wake you up entirely, let's go through all of the phases. Right now, the phase is the full moon, and you can see it in that nice, beautiful night sky, illuminating the night beautifully, as the dark side slowly coming over the moon again in a waning gibbous. Still a lot of light, though just a little bit of darkness, until more of it overtakes in the night sky you see right now, into the third quarter. Just halfway there, halfway sinking, halfway up, until you imagine the waning crescent and that nice, beautiful sky full of stars and subtle colors, nice and easy on your eyes as you look at it. Not that many thoughts right now, just a sliver of light, a sliver of alertness, as you go into the new moon, entirely dropped, entirely relaxed right now, because now you can let your eyes close, if they aren't already, because right now the sky's empty. Of course there's still something there, because there will always be something there to be illuminated again, and you can just relax. You can just drift right now. Now, coming back up now into a waxing crescent, sliver of alertness again as you go to the first quarter. Back in that night sky, the half of the moon is still there, illuminating your thoughts, your mind, letting you slowly come back up into a waxing gibbous, almost all the way up, illuminating that nice sky full of stars and subtle colors, as it's a full moon again and you're all the way back up, alert, awake, everything's back to normal. And remember, the moon will always go back to a full moon if it's left in the new moon for too long. And your thoughts will always be there, because the moon never really leaves. Even though you can't see it, it's still there. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to find more stuff, you can always come to my Discord. Or if you want to request anything, there is a way to suggest files in the description. And I hope you have a nice time. Bye bye.